Howdy guys, it's Luke at Geekgaming Scenics, and in this I'm going to show you some secret weapons for fixing your brushes. I'll catch you after this. So guys, in the last video I showed you some cheap synthetic brushes, and there's a few comments where people saying they're not worth it, they're really cheap, they fall to bits, or you get a couple of goes out of them and you're buying others. They're just not worth it. This video is going to show you how to fix some of the traits of synthetic brushes. They get hooks. If you're using a lot of dry brushes, they get really doped up and they get really acky very quickly, and a lot of people throw them away. This video is going to show you some of my tricks. We're not only going to look at synthetics, we're also going to look at some real hair, some Kalinskis, and we'll teach you how to look after them as well while we're at it. So let's get cracking. So this is one of my favourite tips. Wayne taught me this one, and it's an absolute killer of a product. This is just hand sanitizer gel. It's the alcohol stuff, 7% plus. It's an absolute dream. So if you're working with dry brushes or you're a terrain builder using large makeup brushes, even though you clean them with warm soapy water regular, you get a lot of paint in them bristles and it just doesn't come out. This stuff's amazing because it's a gel, it sort of works into the brushes, and because it's alcohol, it breaks it all down and it's not too aggressive on your brushes. So all you've got to do is put a small amount in a palette and then massage that right into the brush. Give it a couple of seconds to sort of start working with that paint and then get it out on some towel. Do this 2 or 3 times and then just rinse it through with some warm soapy water. And afterwards, you've got a very nice conditioned brush that's in better condition than how it was when it started. This also works on your synthetics, your real hairs, but if you're using like your Kalinskis and things like that, I would probably just do it how we're going to explain later. But for your synthetics and everything else, using this alcohol gel is brilliant for getting really doped up brushes clean again. So that's your dry brushes and your base brushes and washing brushes that you've just absolutely doped up and in a really bad state. And what about your synthetic brushes that get them really nice hook tips? You don't want them in them, let's get rid of them. But to get rid of them, I think we've got to go on a covert op mission. So let's get going.
Now, if you've used synthetic brushes before, hook tips is something that you're very much used to. And the secret ingredient for this is some straightening irons. All you've got to do with these straighteners is put a drop of water onto that iron when it's hot, literally roll the brush around in that water for a couple of seconds, and when you take it out, you've got a perfectly straight, like new brush. Now back to the studio.
In all fairness, don't use your mum's or your girlfriend's best straighteners to do that. If it's okay, you're not going to damage them, just don't get them too wet. But in all seriousness, a bit of warm water, like hot water on a palette will work. It's just going to keep redoing it. But the straighteners are just nice if you've got a lot of brushes to do. But anyway, now we've got the synthetics and stuff out the way, let's talk about your expensive brushes like your Kalinski sables or some of your just mid-price sables. How do you look after them? I'm probably not the best to do this because I'm like the Grim Reaper at her.
Yes.
Yeah, when it comes to brushes. So I'm going to put you in the capable hands of old Josh over here, who uses a lot more better brushes than I do, and he looks after them a lot better than I do, and he can show you what he knows and uses regular.
Hi guys, so my name is Josh and I have been hired for my sins as Luke's cameraman and editor. So you're going to be seeing a lot more of me on the channel from now on. Now Luke's handed over to me to show you how I look after my sable hair brushes. He did ask me to bring some in, but I looked through all mine and they're all actually in pretty good nick at the minute, so none of them needed cleaning. However, I have got some of Luke's used brushes here This makes me feel sick. I don't really know what he's been doing with these, but we're going to do his best to get them cleaned up and see if we can restore them to some of their former glory. So let's get cracking. So the main thing that I like to do with my Kolinsky Sable brushes is rinse them off a lot while you're painting. Don't let paint build up on them. It's a bit of a pain to keep rinsing them off and refilling your brush with paint, but if you keep just putting more and more paint on and don't rinse it off, especially if you're painting the same colour for a long amount of time, the paint builds up and the sort of lower layers will dry on. It's not too much of an issue, but it does make it a little bit harder to get it all off at a later point. So if you rinse your brushes fairly regular, I usually do it sort of once every other trip to the palette. It just means that there's not as much paint getting caked up on there, and it's going to be easier for you to clean them off later on. Now the main thing to clean them is to use brush soap. So all you need to do, wet your brush, you work it into brush soap. I don't know what this is that Luke's got. This is not like the brush soap I've got at home, but it'll do the same job. So all you do is wet your brush and then work that in a circular motion on the brush soap. It'll foam up and you'll see the sort of coloured pigments start to come out onto the brush soap. You can wipe that off later with a bit of kitchen roll or something like that. And then all I do is rinse it in water. Do that a couple of times, and I usually do that every other session after painting. If it's been a particularly long or heavy session, I'll do it after that, but generally I usually do it every other time because it is a bit of a chore to have to do it, but it does help your brushes last a hell of a lot longer. And it is conditioning as well, so it just sort of keeps them supple and stops them from drying out quite as much. I know that essentially all we've done here is clean up some brushes, but these brushes are over 2 years old, and I've seen Luke paint. I know what these brushes have been through, and for them to come up as well as they have done, just clean your brushes, guys. Do it after every paint session, every other paint session. It keeps them going for a hell of a lot longer. If these can still come up nice and new like this, you've got no problems. Just make sure you clean them. So that's my advice on keeping Kolinsky Sable brushes nice and clean and in good performing order. I'm going to pass you back over now to the Grim Reaper of paintbrushes for him to wrap the video up. I'll see you later, guys.
So guys, I hope this video does help some of you out. I know some of these tips or hacks, whatever you want to call them, are not the greatest. Some of them are good, some of them might get you through a day of painting. The whole point of this is if you sit down to paint and all your brushes are hooked over or they're dorped up a crap, the idea of this video is you sit down, you can quickly fix them and then do a night of painting and next day go out and buy some more if you need to. Whatever can encourage you to paint more, this is what I hope this video can do for you. I hope you've enjoyed it, I hope you've liked it. Links to all the products that I've shown can be below, but a lot of them are just generic things you can buy from anywhere. But if you want to buy any brushes or if you want to buy anything that I recommend, there's links to Element Games, Grim Dice below where you can buy them and I get a cut and it doesn't affect you. There might be some Amazon links and things to brushes that I like that also reference last video. But anyway guys, thanks for watching, thanks for tuning in, and if you want to support me any other way, just buy Geekgaming Scenics, guys. Get them from your local shops, help them, help me, however you want to do it. Thanks for watching, thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you again for the next video. Love, love, love. And them synthetics that get really nice hook tips. Wow.
How long have you had these brushes for?
Well, before he actually launched them, I got them a good 3 or 4 months before he actually launched them on sale. Well, no, saying that, that brush there, I painted them last 2 armies in January with.
Brilliant.
So...
What, the ones with speed paints?
Yeah.
You don't use speed paints, you don't use contrast paints, and you don't use washers.
That's why I'm called the destroyer of paintbrushes.
Emil, don't send anything to Luke anymore. Don't send him anything nice. Send it to me instead, because I'll look after it.